Hey, you guys, it's Miki Klann again. And with me today, I have Jetson White, one of the most interesting ones to follow on YouTube right now. And I'm just really excited to have you with me today, Jetson, to talk about the sun, the moon, the stars, and all things holy.
Hello, Miki Klann.
How are you today?
I'm quite good.
Well, I'm excited to pick your brain on what you think is coming. And from all of your research, I love your videos. It's like you take the best of the best and you just kind of put it into like one very attainable package that kind of makes us all wonder and say, what is that? You're like, what is that in the sky? What is going on in the timeline? What's going on with the sun? Because I noticed that you have a video about how the sun has changed and some of your assessments using Solarium. I know my followers know I love that application. And so I don't know, what do you want to take this? Do you want to talk about the tribulation? You want to talk about the rapture? You want to talk about the sun?
Well, let's start with the sun because
Okay.
that's the order I got this information. The sun's gone, for one. The original sun, first it was hidden from humanity by, it's been a gang up here, a gang up. In other words, it wasn't just Lucifer thwarting humanity's efforts. This realm is a free will zone. It was invaded by reptilians, Anunnaki, whether they're the same, I don't know, but there were malevolent invaders who came. By the time Lucifer and his followers were tossed out of heaven, they were already here and they had advanced technology, these other beings. See, that's something Lucifer didn't really have. Mm-hmm. And so they came together and they became very organized in their plots against humanity and against God. So humanity never had a fair chance here, a fair first chance to learn how to live in this 3D realm, which would be to master the ego mind, mm-hmm. and then naturally ascend up, like people are talking about what could have happened and what should happen in realms like this. Mm-hmm. But okay, going to the sun ascended in its window because each, like Earth has a sentient being that plays in this game for her, mm-hmm. and the sun had a sentient being that played in this game for it. And I was told that sentient being who played as the sun was Thoth. Now, Thoth's a good guy. In my world, he is anyway. And what the enemy did with their advanced technology is they covered up the real sun, which was a crystal. Hmm. And they hid it behind like a grill of flames, kind of like, Burger King's charbroiled grill. They just covered it up with flame and said that, all stars are these balls of fire.
But wait a minute. So just for clarity, so you're saying there is a second sun, or that it was just covered up and now it's not covered up anymore?
Well, what happened was everything in this game, there's an end to it. Mm-hmm. And there are a number of cycles allotted to a system. And if they don't get out by the end of that cycle, they're not getting out. Mm. Well, Earth is already past that cycle. But because Thoth was such a being that he learned from King Yeshua himself how to navigate around the evil beings in this realm, he was able to ascend the sun out. But the grill thing, what happened is it's like, burning plasma. Something went awry there and it burnt out. It wasn't working anymore. So they had to have the sun simulators come in too. Once the sun ascended, they had to do, and this thing was breaking down, this grill thing that had been covering the real sun. Mm-hmm. They had to start using the sun simulators, which is, doesn't look like a fireball at all. Everyone says they remember a yellow sun. Mm-hmm. I would assume that was the fireball thing, that we were led to believe was a sphere, when in fact it was probably just a flat, round, disc-shaped grill of fire.
Wow, this is deep stuff. So you have the firmament layer. Are you saying the sun is outside or inside the firmament?
No, the sun, everything was in here because I can't say that we no longer have access to outside of here. Everything's contained in here. What's in the sky, the stars, and even the planets. Now, there are real planets and real stars outside of this dome environment.
Of the firmament?
Yes. Okay. And they do affect, their alignments and stuff do have an effect. But what's in here are just like miniatures, fakes, riding on poles on a track that mimics what's out there. And there's lots of proof of that.
Yeah, I've seen those theories. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. And this is actually something I think Jason Q talks about a lot as well.
Is it?
Yeah, well, he's confirmed what you're saying. So maybe his research and your research are aligned with that concept. So you were really taking time to track the old sun and the new sun in Stellarium, and you kind of show proof that it's a new sun with all new attributes and characteristics.
Right. There's a bit of a difference. I think I felt like for a while, because the real sun had ascended and they hadn't quite got the sun simulators set up yet, that Spica, which is a very bright
star in Virgo,
star that lives outside the dome, had time tunneled in here. It's a twin star, and you have to be a twin star to be a Stargate.
Oh.
It time tunneled in, and it was riding.
Is it somehow a twin star with Gemini or a star in Gemini?
No, it's just it by itself. You call it Spica.
So just for the audience, Spica is in the Virgo, and it's the wheat. It's literally representative of the wheat. And it's one of the stars in, I think there's 4 stars creating sort of a rectangular womb of Virgo.
I don't know if it's one of those stars, but it's definitely associated with the wheat in Virgo's left hand, yes.
And it's also called the branch, and it comes to 48 in Gematria, just so people know. I was looking that up just the other day, which is ripe. Ripe is 48. So, and it's definitely a biblical star. I think it represents the seed promise and the counting of the Omer to the giving of the Torah. So, yeah, go ahead. I don't want to stop you. So you're saying that Spica is actually a star that's outside of the firmament.
Well, it was.
Came in as a twin.
It came in because it was called in because, see, stars, not all stars are angels, but twin stars that are stargates are angels. And that's what Juan is talking about when he says that we don't have the technology to time travel the way people are thinking here without divine assistance. And that divine assistance is from these angels, these stars.
Now, by the way, he's talking about Juan 07.
Right.
Who is open about the 9-foot tall men and women, like taking care of the angels watching over Trump, that he says the doors are too short for the 9-foot tall angels. And you showed some photos in your 107 clip collection.
Right.
Okay, keep going. Okay.
So I think what happened was they were getting the sun simulators. There's more than one. They have to, it's a big mess up there, but they're doing all right. They're pulling it off to some degree. But for a while, I think Spica was here on assignment, riding in the sun's ecliptic, acting as if it were the sun, just for a short time. And when it came out of that role, it caused a timeline shift. And that's the way I knew that the timeline shift had happened, is because I had been tracking Spica which I could tell was a real sun-like object. It had its own light. It was like it was different than a sun simulator, and it was different than the old grill sun.
Okay,
And
so scientifically, you're looking at aspects or attributes of the sun in Stellarium and how it shifted literally overnight, and also of Spica. So you can tell that just the attributes scientifically in and of itself, it shifts. So you can tell like literally the date that these things occur.
what happened was the database in Stellarium, it used to hold the old, see, as these twin stars, which were from outside, so they're like real stars, as these twin stars were on the horizon, setting and rising, they would distort. They would get like real oblong, like an egg.
Okay, yeah.
Or real fat, like a football.
Mm-hmm.
And Stellarium would record that, would pick it up, and it would be like all strange colors and shapes and just distortions, big time distortions.
Yeah.
And so after Spiker stopped playing that role, and I think it was just playing it during the sunset and sunrise, because maybe that was, I don't know, all the behind the scenes. I'm like I don't really like, anyway, let's just get back to the
No, I
timeline.
love it, but I love that you put fact to theory.
Right.
It's one thing to have a theory. It's another thing to really analyze this stuff and to be looking at it, trying to find the answers, right? Because
and then have that happen while I was studying it.
Yeah.
And a quick aside, while I was doing the first version in 2018 of the time travel series, which is kind of what made my channel put it on the map.
Mm-hmm.
That's when Q posted "Time travel is fun."
Yes.
And it's like, what?
That's awesome. I was gonna say, I had just done decode on that the other day about, because someone had asked if aliens exist. I don't know if you remember that Q drop, and
right, I do.
They said, Q replied with, "Consider the vastness of space." 304. The greatest man who ever lived. 304. Phoenix rising from the ashes. 304. The embodiment of Christ. The living embodiment of Christ. 304. Give us this day our daily bread. 304. Judgment of the Holy Spirit. 304. The presidential announcement. 304. And what I'm queuing up to is Jesus is coming on Rosh Hashanah. 304. And Rosh Hashanah is coming on 9/6/2021, which is right around the corner, and 9/8/2021. So I just thought that was interesting. Consider the vastness of space.
Right. Oh, good.
So there you go. I'm trying to predict in the future as well. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I had been tracking those distortions that were happening during the sunrise and sunset events, and literally tracking the entire day of what the sun was looking like. It would be like a real twin star sun, which that doesn't sound like a real sun, but it would be you could see it was a twin sun, when it was setting and rising. Mm-hmm. But then during the day, it would look like just the white disk that people see when they look up now. So there must have been both in play at that time. And
I've seen pictures of both suns.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I'm tracking this, and I'm literally page after page of, at 2:00 it looks like this, at 3:00 it looks like this, at 4:00 it looks like this. And then I go to Stellarium after this. It was 2:21. I saw first, let me back up. I saw in the sun cam where Spica had exited out of the orrery the same way it came in. Now, I'd never seen it do that.
Can I get the date again? You said it was February. What year?
February 21st, 2020.
Okay, so 2020 vision, beginning 2020. So Jupiter's in Sagittarius. Okay, very interesting. Keep going.
So then the next day, the 2/22/2020, 5/2s, I went to look at the sun, and it was just a round yellow thing, as if, I mean,
Do you
it
care
was
if I
like,
share screen and pull up that date?
sure,
Okay.
it's Stellario.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, let's do it.
So you are in 2020.
Right.
November. So here's Spica.
All right.
Sorry, February. Okay. February 20 something.
21st, and then on the 22nd, all the database had been completely. It's like all those distorted images didn't exist anymore. And like if you were to zoom in on the sun.
Okay. Where is the sun at this time? Okay, see, this is a very
Well, yeah, tell me what you see, because I don't see it.
This is a huge moment in time, okay?
All right.
So in my story, The Story of the Heavens, and with Scott McKay, we talk about how Trump had tweeted at the beginning of the tribulation, he tweeted, awesome new clock at Trump Jupiter would look so good between range, putting green will happen. Now on the Earth plane, Jupiter has just done a retrograde. It's basically pulling back the bow of Sagittarius, and it's got the moon at his head, and he's about to release. And in the storyline, this is when he has him in range, would look so good in range.
Oh, I get it.
Between range and putting green. Do you get it? Because on this date is the RNC, the Republican National Convention, when Melania came out in that super lime green dress saying green for go. So this was a green for go moment. I wonder if, I don't know the exact date of the RNC, we should look it up and see if that aligns with your change in Spica. But you see how Saturn has come back into the bow, like he's actually on a retrograde. So he's literally snagged in the arrow of the Sagittarius. And then just days after the RNC, just days after, they released the Abraham Accords, creating peace in the Middle East. This is a really huge moment in time, actually.
It was a stabilizer. It was a stabilizer of sorts, because you can't have peace in the Middle East unless you've got stability.
So it's fascinating that this date lines up with what you saw just days later in Spica.
Right. Like if you did a search for the sun and then just zoomed the heck in on it really big. Spica at the top of your list there.
Yeah, I know, because I was just looking into it. You and I are in alignment.
Now
so the sun is right over the sacral chakra. Look. It's right
on the belly button.
Literally the sacral chakra of Aquarius, right? So Aquarius 107 in gematria.
Oh, really?
Quantum 107, Apostles 107, the Messiah 107, and Juan 07. Get rid of the 0 and you have our lucky number. And this is the sacral chakra, which is our belief system.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah.
And that's what let's see. Belief is the driver of action. That's
totally. That's what Juan said about what they were using, right? So they were using gematria and symbolism and star dates to control us, because their belief was the driver of their actions. But see, it's all getting flipped.
Right. Exactly. We're taking the numbers back. So zoom in really close on that sun and let's see. See, because it's right now, it's looking like it would look nowadays, whereas before it would hold whatever it looked like on that day, it would hold it. Like if it was distorted in orange, it would look distorted in orange on that day in the database. See, but now, whatever it is looks like now, which this is how it looks now with this kind of glow coming off of the both ends. That's how it looks on every day you go to in Stellarium. And that happened.
When did it shift again? What was the date that it shifted?
The last day it looked the last day that the distorted images were still available was 2/21, and 2/22 was the day that they were all gone.
No way. So look at
Way.
that. I mean, it's right there in Aquarius, which
It's,
is the mixing of the waters. That's where Jupiter is now doing its full retrograde. So it's the mixing of the waters, the bringing of new technologies, the advancements that have been kept from us. That is really amazing that you picked out on that date, and that Jupiter is about to release. We need to go figure out. I'm gonna look back into the date of the Republican National Convention in the green dress, because we knew that meant something that day.
I was probably making a video that day.
Well, that's why we're coming together.
Well,
Because there's so many layers. I tell people all the time, this is multi-dimensional.
oh, yeah.
There's so many puzzle pieces in a 3D puzzle to put together. You know, you
Right.
do need to be studying drops. I mean, did you look at Q drops for that day?
Oh, for 222.
Yeah.
I can't remember. There was some for 221, but I don't think there were any for 222.
Okay.
But the ones for 221, I think I remember them being of interest. I can't recall what they are though.
Well, see, it's like another layer. We got to just keep unpacking. And then it's like, what was Trump saying that day? Did he say anything to do with the sun? I wonder.
Post on February 22nd. Let me get up to 2020 though. Oh, wait. That's it. There's a bunch on 2019 and 2018, but none on 2020.
Okay.
When it happened. Sorry about that.
It's okay. Well, so maybe they knew it was coming. I mean, obviously it was planned, because again, when you look back on Trump's tweet, when he said awesome new clock at Trump Jupiter,
Right.
that was, that was right at the beginning of what I think was the tribulation. And he knew what was coming 4 or 5 years ago prior, because he's talking about between range, where Sagittarius has him in range, and putting green, meaning these, and this is a whole nother story, but I'm really curious about. So he's shooting, the Sagittarius is shooting at Scorpio, and Scorpio has 13 stars. So when I was first telling the story, I was thinking Scorpio, 13 stars, 13 royal families. They're taking out, the cabal. But no, I think that actually happened when Jupiter first entered into the womb, right over Spica, which is what you're talking about. And it was, Charlie Freak claims it was 13 units on 13 separate no-fail missions to take out 13 separate families in Venice. And this was on December 24th, 2016. Now, December 24th, 2016 is Christmas Eve. And I think we're going to find out. I'm hoping that Juan will tell us today about what Jesus's birthday really is. But on that date, if you take the date, so 12 is 2 + 1 is 3, 24, 2 + 4 is 6, 2016 comes to 9. So it's a 369 date. And it happened to be the 103rd delta of when they started the Federal Reserve banks, the private banking system. So for them to take out 13 royal families on that date is very significant, very, very significant. And that I got from -48, who you're going to be meeting with here shortly as well. So I just find it fascinating that Sagittarius is now drawing the bow against Scorpio. It has 13 stars. What do those 13 stars represent? Could it actually be, and this is just my theory, the 13th tribe of Israel? I think that they kept the 13th tribe of Israel to us. Why do they always keep us at 12? Do you know what I mean? Everything was kept at 12. They have 13 royal families, but we have 12 everything. There's, 12 hours on the clock. There's 12 on the ruler. We got up to the 12th grade in school. There's 12 chakras. We're limited. There's 12 tribes of Israel, 12 constellations and the zodiac that represent each tribe of Israel. I really wonder if they've kept from us the 13th tribe of Israel, and the 13 also represents Mary Magdalene for M. So M is 13. So anyway, I just think there's a lot going on here in the stars on the storyline, but I just find it so fascinating that you found that Spica may have been is changed out and the sun may have been changed out on the same date that we literally let the arrow go. in that story of the heavens above. So Jupiter,
Wow.
Jupiter being the pulling back and then coming back into its retrograde. So it's in station 2. So it pulled it back and then it's in station 2 and we get the green dress. So fascinating. It's so fun to collaborate and share our research.
It is.
All right. So keep going. So back on Spica, do you think, what do you think is the significance of that star going forward? And the reason I bring that up too, just to cue this question up, I'm going to share my screen again. This coming 9/11 is a huge date.
Oh, you said you hope one says Jesus' true birthday.
Yes.
I've heard him say before that is Jesus' true birthday. Is that why you wanted to get a confirmation?
I would love to get a confirmation because I don't want to. I don't know if once it's out, it's out. Is that the deal?
Like with any message going out, you have to say it and say it again.
Yes, exactly. Well, so this coming 9/11 is really interesting in the stars because so we have the sun at her head. So again, she's clothed with the sun and the moon is at her feet. It's a little far off, but the moon is basically at her feet. The sun is over her shoulder. So again, she's clothed with the sun, the moon at her feet, which is similar to the sign of Son of Man, the great wonder that we saw in heaven, Revelation chapter 12. And I'll just repeat that for everyone so they know. So Revelation chapter 12 was kind of my starting point in my research. It happened on September 23rd, 2017, where she was clothed with the sun, with the moon in her feet, and a crown of 12 stars above her head. And in the crown, you have the 9 stars of Leo, but we actually saw 3 stars, Venus, Mercury, and Mars, in that sign. And she was crying out in pain because she was about to give birth, because Jupiter had done a full retrograde in her womb here, and it had just come out. And so I think it's very interesting this coming 9/11, we have the sun also entering into the Virgo. So in Egyptian manuscripts or in Egyptian mythology, it says that when the sun is in Virgo, it represents the beginning of the wheat harvest, thus connecting Virgo back to wheat grain. So I'm really thinking that they've manipulated our time, they've manipulated our clocks. I think we're counting down the Omer right now, and that we're entering into the giving of the Torah or the Great Awakening. And anyway, so you have Venus, Mercury, and Mars all being the key figures or the key players in the story of Revelation, and in this because remember, those are the 3 wandering stars that created the crown above her head. And it says in Revelation, I believe it's chapter 13 or 14, it says the first angel would come down with a message for all languages, tribes, and people throughout the whole world. And that's when we got our first Q drop. So the first Q drop brought the hour of judgment. And in fact, the very first Q drop was 14:6, the encryption code. And it's Revelation chapter 14:6 that describes the first angel coming down with the hour of judgment for every nation, tribe, and people. So I believe that Mercury represents the QAnon. And Mercury is the messenger planet. It's the one that Kim Clement talked about when he said, and he was referencing Book of Daniel, where he said that Daniel saw Archangel Gabriel moving swiftly during the evening offering. So anyway, so Mercury, then Venus comes down and declares that, fallen is Babylon the Great. And then Mars comes down and declares, watch out for the mark of the beast, basically. So we have these 3 planets on 9/11, all playing a part in this story. But watch this. Mercury does a full retrograde around Spica. And it's not like a perfect loop. He comes around to welcome in the sun and the Mars over Spica.
Do it again.
Yeah. I have to go day by day with Mercury because he goes so fast. But so on 9/11, he comes in retrograde.
So you're starting at 9/11 and going forward.
Yeah. So let's see here. Let's start all the way back. So here coming in, I think this is a huge date. This is 9/11 here.
All right.
And then let's see where he hits this first station 1. He hits that on 9/26. Oh my gosh, this is my birthday, 9/29. Fascinating. And then, I think this is a big coming month or 2 here for the Great Awakening people. Mars is also the war planet. and the sun is in Virgo all the way through 11/3.
Oh, okay.
Is that a big date for you?
It is for me.
Why?
Well, I've got one of my videos. I can't remember which one right now, but it's fairly recent, like the last 6. I found out that the numbers 4 and 11, which 11/4, are in the Q drops, like insane synchronicity about that number. There are 14 all on 411 that just say one word. Where we go one, we go all. And, if we're doing a flip, that would make it 11/4. Now, the day before that, of course, is 11/3. And, it's like Podesta, indicted, and then 11/4 actionable, I think is the words. But what I'm thinking is, not that I'm predicting a date of anything, but
Right.
it seems like this 11/3 could be the day of the rapture, and 11/4 would be like the enemy's first day of not having humanity here. They can't survive without humanity. If humanity's stargated out, like my story says, on 11/3, then wake up 11/4. They've got HE double toothpicks to pay.
Okay, so let's talk about the rapture. You're getting into it, so let's just go there. So
All right.
I, of course, when you ask the universe for answers, sometimes it, comes in multiple different ways, but I think sometimes there's this synchronicity in getting information, and you kind of just have to disseminate at this point, right? I've looked up the rapture, and it just means becoming aware of divine things. And I personally really think that people are going to start realizing that they have a lot more choices with respect to where they operate, whether it be on this plane, whether it be on another plane, whatever. And if other technologies are brought to us, it would make sense that people will have the choice. Now, you've got some different theories on rapture. See, I think it's also becoming aware of our higher, like, we are multidimensional beings, and becoming aware of our higher dimensions or our higher chakras, and realizing that we actually are capable of things like telepathy and, being able to, I don't know, have visualization to manifest our own reality. But I'm very curious what you think the rapture is, and what you're predicting will happen on some date.
Well, fantastic. I'd love to share it. First, if the sun is no longer here, it makes this place not so viable to keep staying. So it lends more credence to the idea that humanity must be rescued out of here. This is a trap. It's a soul trap where you just keep, to infinity, you just keep reincarnating, but you never learn anything because you're wiped every time you come back in.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, human DNA has been tampered with, and the seat of the soul has been swapped. The ego mind got put there when it's supposed to be in the back baby seat strapped in. So humans do have capabilities like that when they're not been tampered with.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're kind of they're greatly hindered from it here, and expecting critical mass of people who can master the ego mind is I don't think is a reasonable idea. Okay, so
what with med beds and other technologies, it might be, just throwing that out there.
Well, okay, technology. Let's get to technology, because that's what's going to get humanity out of here. Because humanity was ganged up on by these who have technology, we had a person rise up in America. Well, he was from Tesla. He was given information, just like Noah was given the blueprint for an ark. Tesla was given the blueprint on how to get humanity out of here. and it's a divine time travel operation. Stargate travel is time travel. So in order to get human vessels prepared for exit, they can't do it on their own. The majority, just think about it. How many people do you know who are, able to keep their vibration high?
Right.
So technology is here to help. And it's Tesla used his own time travel device, his own time travel knowledge that was given to him by God. Mm-hmm. So he had divine assistance to do the type of time travel that the enemy can't do. Mm-hmm. They don't have the immensity of what we can do. Mm-hmm. They've just got what they've got is like looking glass. They can use a person who's intuitive, and it's limited to what their psyche is, and all they can do is peek into possible future timelines. That's about as far as they can go with what we would call time travel. That's pathetic compared to what we have. The white hats have access to. What?
Compared to what? Sorry.
Compared to what white hats have access to right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so technology will be used to raise. It'll be like a big 5D. The last Trump is a sound event. It will be this very loud sound. And that sound will transform human vessels into superconductors. It will be so powerful, and they'll be temporarily transformed into like 5D. They'll probably even go invisible, 5D, invisible, levitatable, lock-in-placeable. That could be, and all these ships are here. I've got lots of proof of that from the orrery. We haven't really talked about the orrery, but that's what makes the stars go around and all that. It's just objects on a pole following on a track. But I kind of lost my train of thought because I went to the orrery.
It's okay.
But so you've got this 5D magnetron sound blast that's going to happen. No one will not hear it. Even deaf people will feel the vibration of it. And when that happens, everyone in a certain frequency range that's been predetermined will literally disappear, be levitated up, and put aboard all these fleets. I mean, thousands and thousands of fleets, not just ships, fleets of benevolent galactics who are here to assist with this. The reason we have to do that is because humanity was hijacked. Earth was hijacked. It's a captured operation. Juan says that all the time. And it's a captured operation in that nobody can get out of here. But this is the Q plan to save the world, is to get them the heck out of here.
And what about animals and plants and other living things?
Right. Well, we won't need the plants and stuff. They'll have plants where they're going. But pets will be, it's like everyone chooses a gate. There's 2 gates for humans, east and west. East goes to the heavenly realm, and that wouldn't happen until after the rapture at the end of the world. In other words, not after the rapture at the end of the world, but after the rapture at the end of the world, which is, in my book, 3.5 years after the rapture. So that's the east gate. The west gate is the one that it's going to take the vast majority of humans, what the Bible might call the lukewarm, the unsaved. See, talk about, getting wrong information. You can't justify in your mind, if you have critical thinking, that God would make all the 7 billion people and then condemn, nine-tenths of them to hell because they didn't have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ.
Right.
He doesn't.
Or
He's
because
not
they
like
just didn't understand, or that they were misled.
right. That's the thing. They never had a fair chance to understand.
Well, yeah, I think that's a very interesting theory. I think my theory is a little bit more on like we'll have a choice. You've mentioned that the army, the 144,000, may stay behind, or there may be multiple waves. But I would love to think that we're getting our free will back through this great awakening, and that we'll have a choice of where we go, what we do. But I agree, if there's some big event, it's hard to know. It's hard to know what the soul is choosing. But I do think that since this is a free will terrain, is that what you call it, a terrain or
a free will zone is what I called it.
Yeah, I would like to think that people will have a choice in all matters, including where they go when they reincarnate. But that's what I'm hoping for, right? I mean, it's like none of us really know because we haven't had the event happen. But I unfortunately have to wrap this up because we have another meeting here.
That's right.
So I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today. This has been absolutely fascinating, and I really look forward to continuing the conversation.
All right.
Okay.
Excellent. Fantastic.
Thanks, Jetson. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Okay. Bye.